Your weekly market recap as we end off on a Friday on a positive note. Finally, a little bit of positivity heading into the long July 4th holiday weekend for the markets. Here's a look at how we end off the week on a Friday afternoon. 1% for the S&P, 0.8 here for the Dow, 0.77 for the NASDAQ. Nice rally back for energy markets as well. 2.5% for crude oil back to the upside. 3.5% for Bitcoin. 5.7% for Ethereum back to the upside. What a week it was. Let's look at some weekly charts here. Unfortunately, still negative for the S&P. There's the SPY sitting on this 380 level after, we had a positive week last week, if you remember. It was all about the first half and also the second quarter and also the month of June coming to an end. It was the worst, in fact, first half since 1970 for the S&P 500. All focus remains on how will the Fed deal with inflation, rate hikes, all the rage heading through this week. S&P again to the downside. Let's have a look at the NASDAQ here. Same story, 280 coming into play once again for the Qs here. Back to the downside, negative week for the Qs as tech stocks were the worst off. The pullback among the roughest in a long time for the tech sector as well. We'll move on to IWM, the Russell, small caps under pressure back to 170. Pretty ugly right across the board here as we head through to midweek. We get consumer confidence data that was also a little bit worse than expected, adding more negative pressure, especially to the banks. Here's the Dow, also red. Again, these are all weekly charts we're showing you. Coming off the pandemic lows, we get back to 300, going back 3 weeks on the diamonds here for the Dow. Another red week on the board for the Dow and the diamonds. More weak consumer confidence data out midweek this week. And then we end off, as I mentioned, the worst first half for the S&P 500 since 1970. Robinhood was in focus. There was rumors floating around early on in the week that FTX was mulling a possible takeover of Robinhood. That popped up. They came out later and said, nope, no active M&A talks with Robinhood at the time being. We learn on Friday that they actually take out BlockFi in a deal that does get done on Friday. Carnival Cruise led the travel sector to the downside all week long. CCL on a weekly chart, ugly. If I zoom out here a little bit, you can see we get back to, pandemic lows coming into play now for CCL, bouncing off $8 as Morgan Stanley slashes their outlook on not only CCL, but cruise lines in general. Here's Micron then to end off the week. Earnings drags down the entire chip group. We're right back to pre-pandemic levels for Micron and all of the chip makers as well, back under pressure. Round trip here. Notice the double top, round trip for Micron. Pre-pandemic levels coming into play here on a Friday. Apple as well, JP Morgan with a positive note. Wasn't enough, sadly, to end off a pretty ugly week. We come off of some positivity. We end off not only the first half of the year, the second quarter of the year as well to the downside with more negativity, unfortunately, surrounding interest rates, surrounding what the Fed is going to do going into July. Remember, July 13th will be a big week. We're going to get the next CPI reading. We're going to get the start of earnings season once again. So you get a bit of a quiet week next week, but stay tuned for the second week of July. That's when we're going to get a big dose of economic data and earnings news once again. Make sure you grab the watch list, guys. Bottom of the screen right now. Use the link. You can use that QR code. I'm going to show you a heat map to wrap up this weekly review, just to give you a sense of how bad this first half of the year was. That's the NASDAQ on the first 6 months of the year. We'll catch you on Tuesday. Have a great, happy 4th of July from TraderTV.Live.